We have a large number of candidates tonight, and we will have to be efficient as we go along. This is the candidates, Meet the Candidates evening, sponsored by AAUW, the American Association of University Women, and the League of Women Voters. And we have county, town, and I guess county and town, that's it. That's enough, yeah. And we do have a large number of candidates. I'm Maxine Vorm, and I'm chairing this evening. And what I'm going to do right now is turn the meeting over to our moderator, Linda Rizzo, who will talk first with the county candidates. We have 9 candidates, 2 of whom are not able to be here tonight. And so we will start with that group.
Thank you, Maxine. Good evening to everybody. As you know, my name is Linda Rizzo, and I will be the moderator for this evening. I want you to know that this forum is sponsored by the American Association of University Women, AAUW, and the League. But tonight's actual forum is primarily been organized and is being sponsored by AAUW because all our people are here to work this evening. This evening, you will have the opportunity to gather information about our town candidates and also our county candidates to help you make a decision in voting. First of all, I want you to know that we are a nonpartisan group, AAUW. We are interested in getting the information out to the voters and having you make an informed decision when you vote. All our candidates tonight will be on the ballot for November 7th, and every candidate was invited to participate in today's forum. We have a few ground rules for this evening. We ask that there be no campaign signs, buttons, or literature distributed in the room. This is for the table in the foyer where you can put all your information and do all your campaigning out there. We also ask that you not do individual video or audio of this forum tonight. The ones that will be doing that are our news media and open stage media. Also, we ask that, if possible, you turn off your cell phones. You are very welcome to submit written questions on cards that have already been distributed. Please, though, on your cards, remember to indicate whom the questions are directed. If they're for the county, put county. If they're for town supervisor, and if they're for town board. That's very important that you do that. Otherwise, your question may not be presented. Questions will be screened, and questions that aren't clear or questions that are hostile in nature or of a personal nature will not be used. Questions that fall in the same general category will be consolidated. So if you're asking about one topic and 20 other people are asking about the same topic, then of course we only ask that one question. Also, please feel free to contact the candidates in case you want more information. Now, for the candidates, for each office, candidates will have 2 minutes for their opening statement and 1 minute for their closing statement, and they will have, and each candidate will have 2 minutes for each question. We have timers who will hold up the yellow card when their 30 seconds are left, and a red card to indicate that the candidate must stop. So if you go over the time and you notice that the timer is holding up the red card, just bring your statement to quick conclusion.
Linda, I'm sorry to do this, but they will have 1 minute for each question.
Oh, okay, on here it says 2 minutes. All right, well, I'm only reading this, okay. So I guess you have 1 minute for each question. Arbitrary decision. After each statement or question, we would ask you to please hold your applause. that would be recommended. We thank also all the candidates for coming tonight. We wish them well, and we will begin the program. I will now start with the county candidates, beginning with Rory Fullman, to have them go down and give their opening statements.
I want to thank the American Association of University Women, the League of Women Voters, for holding this forum. Democracy is important. Voices are important. It's great that there are so many people that are here from all sides of the aisle. I live in the Village of Scotia, so hopefully I'd like to spend a little time just getting to know you guys and everybody get to know me. I have a degree in occupational therapy. I started my career at Sunnyview Hospital. That's what brought me to this area. I married a Scotia girl. I live in the Village of Scotia, have 3 wonderful boys, 12, 10, and 10. I'm a coach. I'm a helper at school. I turned 40 years old, and I realized I hadn't had public service in my life. I was a scout, but never made Eagle. I never joined the military, and I was never a volunteer fireman. So I said, you know, there comes a time when you need to step up and serve the public. So I ran for village trustee, was a trustee for 2 years, and then 4 years ago ran for county legislature. I was fortunate enough to win 4 years ago. That's why I'm here today, to introduce myself and ask for your support. In that 4 years, I've been very happy with my service. There are a lot of very talented people that work for the county on both sides of the aisle. Our county legislature is unique. We have 15 members. There are 10 Democrats, 3 conservatives, and 2 Republicans. And it's truly a pluralistic community. It's a pluralistic board. And as we talk tonight about our successes, you know, drive down Schenectady, drive down Niskayuna, drive down Glenville. You will see our successes through economic development, through building, through all our improvements on our safety net, all of our costs that we've saved in the county. And I want to talk about those things later, but just to finish up, again, I'm Rory Fullman. I'm happy to be here. This is a very important piece of democracy, coming and singing for your soup, you know, coming straight to the public. I spend a lot of time at the door. I spend a lot of time at the phone and on my computer responding to folks. And I'm more than happy to do that again here tonight. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kathy Gatta. I also live in the Village of Scotia. I have 3 children, ranging from 7th grade to a junior at Worcester Polytech Institute in college. I grew up in Glenville, went to Burnt Hills Schools, proud resident of Schenectady County. I joined the Schenectady County Legislature 6 years ago, and I am I'm chair of the Tourism, Arts, and Special Events Committee, and I'm vice chair of Education and Libraries. I also do the bookings for the concerts at Freedom Park, and I've been involved in the Freedom Park Foundation for many, many years. So I am enjoying being on the county legislature, and I'm hoping for your support in 4 more years.
Hi, my name is Pete Looker, and I'd like to thank the 2 groups for organizing this. I'd also like to thank the YWCA for having their Take Back the Night rally tonight at 6. And I live in Glenville. I was born in Bellevue Hospital, so I haven't made it very far. I'm a chimney sweep by trade, been doing that for 40 years. Before that, I worked direct care and developmental centers, and was a CFCA local president, was a volunteer firefighter, was on the county environmental advisory council, organized the state chimney sweep guild. But I'm here mainly to talk about the 4 green principles, which I think are very important. The Green Party has those 4 principles. One of them is nonviolence, which in everything I need to know and learn in kindergarten means don't hit Jack over the head with a stick. Grassroots democracy, which is everybody gets a chance to speak, which I thank the League of Women Voters for doing that. And grassroots in that you can do it locally. You don't have to throw it way up to the highest level. If you can work with your neighbor, work with your neighbor. Social and economic justice, and that's basically everybody gets a share of the ball game and of the chalkboard, and they still have chalkboards, and everybody gets a chance to speak. And ecological wisdom, which I think we desperately need in this world, and that's basically don't make a mess. If you make a mess, clean it up. Try and leave things better than you found them, not worse. And I feel like that's something that's significantly lacking in our structure. So, since we have a short time, I'll say goodbye. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Mathis. First of all, I'd like to thank the AAUW and the League of Women Voters, along with the town of Niskayuna, for having this debate. I feel it's very important that you get to know who each of us are as individuals so you can make an educated decision on Election Day. I have been a lifelong resident of the county. My roots go back even farther than before my birth. My grandfather lived in Niskayuna his adult lifehood. He was an electrical engineer for GE. My father graduated from Niskayuna High School along with his brother, my uncle, who came back to Niskayuna to head up the math department over right down the street at the high school. Even my extended family, my in-laws owned Keplinger Cleaners on Union Street. And, after I graduated Siena College, I decided to come back here. And my wife of 15 years, Nicole, and myself chose to raise our 4 children here. I have, my oldest one works for AT&T. My second oldest son is pursuing a career in law enforcement. My third son is at Albany Pharmacy, and my daughter is a freshman at Scotia-Level High School. Professionally, I have a 17-year career in banking. I've held several different roles in the banking world, from branch manager to heading up a bank at work program, overseeing 150 branch locations throughout New York State. I also was a private banker, and I worked with affluent individuals in helping manage their wealth. And currently, I am a regional vice president, overseeing 13 branches in New York. I also am a business owner. I have 5 employees locally. I sit on, I believe strongly in community service. I sit on the board for Samaritan Shelters, and I'm also an active Rotarian. And lastly, I'm also a village trustee. I've been in that position for 3 years now in the village of Scotia, so I hold an elected position. And, I got involved in politics because I feel strongly about the community we live in and giving back. And I feel I can use my skill set in banking and business to help do so.
Thank you. Sure.
Happy anniversary, 100 years of women voting in New York State. I thank the League of Women Voters and AAUW for sponsoring this event. My name is Kurt Simone, and I am a candidate for the Schenectady County Legislature for District 3 to represent Niskayuna, Glenville, Scotia. I married Margaret in 1993. We have 2 children, Thomas, who's a student at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, and Samuel, who's in 11th grade. I hold 4 degrees, including a master's in history from SUNY Albany and a master's in teaching from Union College, and I've been teaching for about 19 years. I also served in the Navy for 9 years, operating and maintaining nuclear power plants associated with submarines. I then worked in heavy industry as electrical maintenance and plant operations supervisor. And I also understand the challenges that come with a permanent layoff. I attended college in my 30s to reinvent my career while working all sorts of part-time jobs just to pay the bills. I am active with our local VFW and American Legion Post to help our local veterans. We support several student education programs, including Voice of Democracy, Boys and Girls State. I'm also a 10-year Glenville volunteer, serving on the Environmental Conservation Commission and then on the Planning Board. I was also a town councilman, where I provided full services with no town tax because the county there shared sales tax fairly. I believe deeply in civics, and that is the basis for my candidacy. I'm running to fully support the towns and villages in District 3 and to listen and respond to the people of Niskayuna. I will be an all-in representative, and I will not serve any political machine boss. The key issues in the county is the county's empire building, reckless overspending, failure of incumbent legislators to represent Niskayuna's interests, failure of incumbent legislators to cooperate with the town and village boards or even to cooperate with other peers like Mr. Burmaster. And finally, the county's failure to share sales tax fairly with the towns, villages, and the city. Thank you.
Thank you to the organizers of this forum. You provide a critical service to our community and take away the excuse of, I don't vote in local elections because I don't know the candidates or the issues. And thank you to all of you who attended tonight and taken the time to become an informed voter and impact your town with your vote. I'm Loretta Rigney. I'm a Christian, I'm a wife, and a mom. I'm the Chief Purchasing Officer and Facilities Manager at Rumors Salon and Spa, a woman-owned small business that employs 100 people. I have 20 years of experience working for nonprofit organizations in the Capital Region, including the Chamber of Southern Saratoga County, the Institute for Professional Development in the Addictions, and Cornell Cooperative Extension. This is my first time running for office. I had never had any political aspirations. I just wanted to live a life of purpose and have a positive impact of those around me. It was a combination of the good, the bad, and the ugly that catapulted me into the campaign. The good was when I crossed paths with some elected officials, including Kevin Mathis, serving Glenville and Scotia. Their genuine dedication to our community inspired me to take a more active role in my own village, so I took a step and became the chair of Scotia's Special Events Committee. I figured that it was a small way that I could use my skills in the village. Now, the bad was when I began to notice, like many around me, that I was becoming increasingly disillusioned with our elected officials. I really just never felt good about going to the polls. Every year it was picking who could cause the least damage. The ugly was last year's presidential election. I watched candidates and citizens, including families, rip each other apart, and it hurt my heart. I began to pray for candidates that could bring unity, common sense, and civility to government. I prayed, and one day God said to me, "How about you?" So I wrote down a simple goal, run for elected office, and the doors opened, and here I am, a candidate you can feel good voting for.
Thank you. For a few people that are standing in the back, we do have a couple of chairs up front. If it's difficult for you to, stand, you're welcome to those chairs. All righty, now we will begin with our questions. All righty, we're going to begin with the first question, and we'll begin with Rory. And each of the candidates will answer this question. Compare services offered by Saratoga County versus Schenectady County.
So Schenectady County has an integrated library system. Saratoga County goes on and extends an extra tax to their citizens for that service. Our library system is run at $36 per capita. City of Saratoga's is run at $109 per capita. Clifton Park, $76. So we run a very efficient intergovernmental cooperation of library service in this county. We live in two very different places. Saratoga County is a wonderful community, 4 times the landmass of Schenectady, 4 times less the problems. Our safety net services alone in Schenectady County are where most of our county expenses go. 47% of your county property tax levy goes straight to Medicaid. So when I hear this comparison, why aren't we Saratoga County? Why are we not this county? We live in Schenectady County. We bought houses here. Let's make our county better. Let's not get hung up on blaming our county that we're not Saratoga County.
Kathy, the same
Just
question?
down the line.
Yes, would you want me to repeat it?
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
I got the gist of it. As Rory mentioned, trying to compare Saratoga and Schenectady County is a difficult thing. Schenectady has a greater number of elderly people. We have a greater number of indigent. We have a large community college that the county takes care of. We have more need for social services. A better comparison to Schenectady would be Rensselaer County, someplace with a city and urban areas. As Rory mentioned also, Saratoga has a greater property values. The poverty rate in Saratoga is half what it is in Schenectady. The city of Saratoga, 12% of the county population, 12% of the county population is the city. In Saratoga, 44% of the county population is the city. The poverty rate in the city of Schenectady is 19.37. In the city of Saratoga, it's 8%. As Rory mentioned also with the libraries and the taxing for that is totally different. I'm sorry, Ty.
Thank you, Kathy. Next.
What was the question again?
The question is, compare services offered by Saratoga County to Schenectady County, and what's the difference?
I'll pass on that. I don't have any real details on that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you know, Rory brings up the fact that we chose to live here, and we did, but unfortunately, a lot of the residents that are our neighbors are choosing to leave due to the fact that our property taxes are significantly higher in this county. You know, county-wise, we have the highest crime rate. Also, too, if you take a look at our payroll costs, we have 67, almost 68 million for 1,477 workers versus Saratoga's payroll, which is $55,498 for 1,095 workers. You know, and last time I checked, I believe there is a city in Saratoga too as well. So there is a lot of comparisons associated with it that we can relate to. And essentially, the county of Saratoga has less people, and by 42%, and they have less people in Schenectady County than Saratoga by 42%, and we have 7% more cost.
Thank you. Kurt?
Well, in Saratoga County, they rely on the towns to provide prosperity. That's why Saratoga shares its sales tax at a 50% rate with the towns. Here in Schenectady, we spend 58% more money per person than Saratoga County. And yet our towns could be much more vibrant than they are now if we allow the towns to grow. Our real estate prices are lower than Saratoga because our taxes are higher than Saratoga. Our taxes are higher than Saratoga because our sales tax share with the towns is lower than Saratoga. Our county budget from 2003 to 2017 has grown by 42.7%, added $95 million in just 14 years. I think that's a key difference between Schenectady and Saratoga County, and I think that's something we need to get better handle on and control.
Thank you.
So I worked in southern Saratoga County for 7 years as the vice president of their Chamber of Commerce. So I dealt with their business owners and their residents all day long. And I mean, we can talk about numbers back and forth and population, but the bottom line is when I told people where I lived, they would cringe and say, oh my gosh, how do you pay the taxes on your house? And so that was really the big issue. Now, rather than going over a bunch of numbers and things like that, I mean, what we need to do is we need to look at our strengths and our weaknesses, try to increase our strengths, decrease our weaknesses, but also look at the remaining, the other counties such as Saratoga, see what they're doing well and see how we can replicate it. Because they're, working on town centers and we're working on town centers and we're working on economic development and they are too, but they're being more prosperous with their towns especially. And our towns are doing a great job of economic development. However, we are not reaping the same benefits as Saratoga towns.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll begin with Mrs. Gatta. All of you running for the county legislature seem to be from Scotia and Glenville. Can you tell us what will you do for Niskayuna in order for us to get our fair share of the taxes reduction? We're already paying our fair share of taxes, believe me. But what will you do for us to get a reduction in our taxes in Niskayuna?
Oh, okay. Well, on the county level, we do have representatives that live in Niskayuna, actually. Just the two of us happen to live in the village. On the county level, we are lowering taxes. In the past few years, our taxes have remained flat. Last year, there was no increase at all, and this year we have a 1% decrease in taxes, and that's going to everybody in the county, Niskayuna, Glenville, the Village of Scotia, Rotterdam, everybody. It's our job. We have a lot to deal with in the county. We have a lot of services that we provide. So not only to Niskayuna, but to everybody, we are lowering the taxes.
Thank you.
One thing I would suggest that we do that would save millions of dollars for all the county and all the towns and all the school districts would be to encourage our Senator Jimmy Tedesco to vote for single-payer health care in New York, the New York Health Act. If that passes, we will basically cut out 25% of the cost of health care for everybody in the state, and everybody will be covered, and everybody will get the same one that our governor gets, our senator gets, our supervisor gets, our county legislature gets. Everybody would get the same one. It's a no-brainer. So I would encourage that, and I would encourage that even right now. Ask everybody to, you probably have Jimmy Tedesco's number in your phone book, call him and ask him. You can go look up New York Health NYH campaign, and you can see the details of it. It's been crunched out by an economics professor at UMass Amherst. So I would do that to keep it simple. I have a master's in public affairs, and I can't figure out all the different medical plans that I have to go to. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the solution is that, working together, first of all. I actually am a trustee in the Village of Scotia, which is in the town of Glenville, and I'm the liaison with the town. I work with the supervisor, actually, with Loretta and myself. We're on a committee where we're looking to look at shared services and see ways we can improve together. The solution is that going to the meetings, and I have yet to see one of our county representatives attend one of my village meetings prior to maybe when they were a trustee themselves, but I don't see them on a regular basis. I think the solution is that we go out there and we work with the towns. We get back down to where the services are being provided. The county can really get a lot of input from the county, from the supervisors, the mayors within the county. And I would encourage any county representative, and I know once I'm elected, I will go to those meetings and be interactive with those municipalities, because that's where all the work is being done. It's not being done at the county level. And when you talk about Niskayuna, I can think back to when I was 8 years old, and I still go today to Gershon's Deli. You probably can see me there on Thursdays. And I've always ordered the same sandwich, a letter B on rye with macaroni salad. And my in-laws owned a cleaners within Niskayuna on Union Street. My family's from Niskayuna, even though I live in Glenville. So I have an understanding. I don't live here, but I have an understanding of what Niskayuna is all about.
Thank you.
Niskayuna has had a 17.2% tax increase from 2013 to 2017. That's not sustainable. Niskayuna has a two-tier tax system, which is not sustainable. Your businesses pay twice what the residents do. We need to fix that. We need to fix that by having the District 3 legislatures come to your town, caucus with your town board members, attend your town meetings, communicate with the people, not in secret, but in public, and then caucus together, again, as District 3, and find solutions. And one of the solutions is, in fact, fair sales tax. I know the chairman of the county claims that it is a bailout. It's your money. How can you be bailed out with your own money? You earned it. And here's the county tax last 4 years. Every election, it's a little break. And then between elections, there's an increase, 4.2% over the last couple of years. Thank you.
So this isn't about Glenville versus Niskayuna. This is about all of the towns coming together and working together to get our fair share of whether it's services or sales tax. So, I would argue it's not just about Glenville and Scotia and Niskayuna, but it's also about Rotterdam. Because as a unified voice, we are going to have much more of an impact at the county level and even at a state level if the towns of Schenectady County are all working together. As county representatives, we need to work closely with the local municipalities. Again, like it's been said, be at town board meetings, really understand, work closely with your elected officials so that we're all on the same page and we can all unify. As towns, we will be a force to be reckoned with. if all of the towns are working together.
Lori?
So I serve as Chair of Intergovernmental Cooperation. This year alone, we sent in our plan to the Governor's Office per state budgetary mandatory regulations. Just alone public meetings, we had 5. Public hearings, we had 3. Those are countless conversations with staff about exactly the explicit pieces of the plan. So to say that we don't meet with the towns is really disingenuous. But Niskayuna specifically, how can we get the tax savings quicker to the people who live in Niskayuna? The question is what are we doing for Niskayuna? It's very simple. When we have a tax freeze like last year at 0%, or a tax cut this year of -1%, that goes directly to the taxpayer. It skips the towns and it goes directly to the taxpayers. So if you're the taxpayer and you want to know who's going to give you the bang for your buck, look at the people who are holding your taxes at 0%. Look at the people who are holding your taxes at -1%, and Niskayuna is coming in at -2% this year. That is how you get savings to the people.
Thank you. The next question, we're going to begin with Peter Looker. There's a lot that's been written about comprehensive plans for land use, smart growth, and sustainable development. What is your position on this?
Totally makes sense. I would propose that that the county facilitate all kinds of meetings and forums and presentations and ideas on how to go to a sustainable world. And some of it's simple, buying local food, supporting the local farmers. Some of it, like Metroplex gave, I don't know, a couple million maybe in tax breaks and stuff to this Old Dominion trucking company across the street from my house, so I now don't have to turn a light on at night because it's so bright. But if half of that money was used for retrofitting houses, for upgrading mass transit, many more jobs per buck to do that. It's local, and it will start saving money, just like the solar panels are saving money now, but helping everybody to do that in a variety of ways is my suggestion.
Thank you.
I'm definitely in favor of comprehensive plans. I think they're great. I think the structure will allow us to take a look at where we want to put business districts. I think business districts are the solution, because if the county give us back our sales tax, that could help our communities grow. You know, you talk about savings to the people. I think the biggest savings could be if we had a steady stream of income coming from sales tax, which can constantly grow off itself. As you improve your business districts, not only are you improving your quality of life, you're sitting there giving us places where we can go to eat, places of entertainment, and other things as businesses come in. And as that grows, you are just reaping the rewards of the sales tax as opposed to putting the burden on the property tax.
Thank you.
Comprehensive plans are essential. Glenville just ratified theirs last night after years and years of work, not in top-down, but bottom-up from the public. The public decided what they wanted, and right to the very end, they were given input. Another thing the public can do, and I'm on the planning board in Glenville, is decide how we should have zoning, how things should be laid out. Freebridge Bridge, for example, was looked at recently. You have Route 146, but you have a lot of empty retail space, in part because you have a two-tier tax system, and you don't get your fair share of sales tax. How can we encourage someone to come into our community, invest, if they're not going to benefit from that investment? We as a town should benefit from sales tax if we as a town are being asked by the county to develop. And that is what we've been doing. And now it's time for that sales tax to be shared.
So it's the age-old issue of balancing economic development with quality of life, balancing growth with infrastructure support and upgrade to support that growth, a mix of large and small businesses, industrial, research, and retail, along with parks and trails that are so important to, again, our quality of life. That type of balance is incredibly complicated, and so therefore it takes extensive planning along with input from all of the people involved, the residents and business owners, and of course, the municipalities, and the support that comes from all of that the county can provide.
Thank you. Rory?
The question was on comprehensive plans for land use and
Smart growth and sustainable development.
right, and everybody wants to talk about the sales tax, the vote row B, get our fair share. So I'm sure we're gonna get there. Hopefully somebody wrote that question, because I'd love to talk about it. But in talking about land use, what are we doing as a county? How are we sustaining our lands? How are we improving our farmers? How are we remediating our streams? I also sit on the Schenectady County Board of Soil and Water, where we have very cheap electronic recycling, food waste recycling, stream remediation. These are all programs. They're not glamorous. They're not in the paper every other day, but these are very important land use things. And I believe you said ecological wisdom, one of the tenets of the Green Party, and that's wonderful. I mean, we all should be striving for that. Look at Schenectady County's use of solar panel projects alone. Look at all the CO2 emissions that we are taking out of our world just because we're deciding to use solar panels. And why are we using solar panels? Because it's a tax savings, because we're saving the taxpayers' money by saving on our electrical bills.
One of the points that I was going to make as well was about the solar panels saving, not only saving on the annual savings of $200,000 on electricity, but also the CO2 emissions and what that does for our land. As a county, we've also done a lot. Our county highway and bridge program, we have a lot in the works coming up. Sunnyside Road, Scotch Ridge Road, Rosendale Road, High Bridge Road. We've got a lot of new plans and programs coming up. We have a lot going on in the Plotterkill Preserve that we're doing to try and work on and maintain that land there. And I just feel like there is a lot that we have been doing and will continue to do to protect our land.
Thank you. All righty, we have our next question, and we'll begin with Kevin Mathis. Do you support on the county level our library system? Would you continue to support the funding of it? And particularly, what do you think is lacking with our Niskayuna branch?
Well, I definitely do. As an English major from Siena College, I definitely would support the library system. I feel that the county government can run a lot of things more efficiently, and I believe that we can get funding in other ways for the county library system, in the sense of I look at the county government as an extra layer that really doesn't need to exist. It's ironic because I'm running for county legislator, but I want to get involved because I feel that I can change it from the inside out, and I'd like to give the power back to the municipalities. I really like to give it back to the towns, to the villages, where the decisions are really being made, and get rid of this layer of government that just has a lot of bloat to it, to be quite honest.
Thank you.
I'll probably differ a little bit, but it's my teaching background. I love libraries. I love reading books. I use the Glenville Library. In all honesty, I haven't been in this one, so I couldn't answer that aspect of the question. But I support this library. I support a library in Warrensburg, Richards Library, the one in Bolton. Anywhere I go, I generally find myself supporting the libraries. 6 years ago, it's almost 7, 8 years ago, the library system was in dire straits. Dire straits because it was the political hot potato. And I'm glad it was resolved. I like the path the library has been going in. I'd like to see the library continue along that path. If anything, I guess I am happy. That's one of the things the county has done right. The library system is on the right path.
I would agree with Kurt. I appreciate the fact that the counties provide our libraries. I really have, no problem with them doing so. I think that, we need to take a hard look at whether or not it's the right level of support or whether or not we can find additional revenue streams from grants or other sources. That's always something we have to look at to take the burden off of us as residents. Your own library is beautiful. We had a meeting there a few months ago. And I think, as far as improvements, that would be a conversation to have with the people that work there and use it on a regular basis. And then figure out how to get it funded from there.
Thank you.
So I sat on the Schenectady County Library Board of Trustees before I was on the county legislature. And it was a great 2 years for me. And the people in Niskayuna should be proud. I mean, you guys have a jewel in the library system for sure. Kurt mentioned, you know, there was an age when the county was in trouble, and so they were cutting back some services. All hours got cut. All services got cut through the library branches. And what we did is once our economic condition improved, about the time I got onto the ledge, we figured the money's back. How can we support our Niskayuna library? How can we support all the libraries? We brought in the public. We had roundtable discussions. We looked at data. We looked at when people were checking out books and when they weren't. If they were checking out videos or checking out records, it was a true data analysis. And we figured out hours. We expanded hours throughout the system, and especially in Niskayuna. Specifically in Niskayuna, you know, I'd like to see more program space. I'd like to see more opportunities for community groups to be able to come in and use the library. Speaking on Niskayuna's library specifically, but it's a jewel in the Schenectady County system for sure.
On this county legislature, I am the vice chair of the Education and Libraries Committee. We have a director in Karen Bradley who does a phenomenal job at getting the grants that are needed when there isn't enough funding available for the stuff that she wants to do. And she works miracles. We are doing a lot of improvements that we have in the budget this year. Adding additional staffing we're adding a whole new library for the Mount Pleasant branch. In Niskayuna, we are doing some roofing projects we have coming up, as well as in our Rotterdam branch. We have some technology replacements. When they notice there are some issues with the technology, we have it in the budget to replace those, and as well as additional staffing. So we're working on it, and they're constantly working on it.
Thank you.
I like the idea of cooperative county system. Having spent a little time up in Saratoga, I saw everything kind of broken up, like you couldn't borrow from this one a new book or that, and I think it was Clifton Park in Saratoga, you couldn't borrow any new books or anything. So I like the cooperative. I visit all the library in the county, not so much Waynesburg, but sometimes. And I think we can do, obviously we can do a little bit better, but I really appreciate it. And I would also like to apologize for losing that tape that fell underneath my seat. And but that $25 donation was 1% of what I saved by not having to buy all these things by us cooperatively, sharing all these books and all these tapes.
Well, this goes back to the first question, which I'm going to have to look at. Let me see here.
Compare services with Saratoga?
Yeah, comparing the services for Saratoga. What are those services that people want to know that are different? They don't want statistics, but they want to ask questions about the services. So to be specific, what services differs between Saratoga County and Schenectady County? And we'll go quickly, and we'll start with you, Rory, and just go right down. Or, well, let's start with Rory. Let's go right down now.
Whatever.
It's a add-on.
Schenectady County has a community college. There is no Saratoga County Community College. Schenectady County has an airport with air traffic control. No air traffic control in Saratoga County. Schenectady County has wonderful proctors, wonderful State Street, wonderful City of Schenectady, which has 60,000 people, where the City of Saratoga has 30. So those socioeconomic differences drive our county resources. So when you want to talk about differences, those are the main differences.
I don't know how many differences we can really list. One thing that stands out to me is the ice rink that Schenectady County has and that the county takes care of. As far as services, I know that our social services and public health needs are, not that they don't have that in Saratoga, but the needs that we have in Schenectady are much more than they have in the needs in Saratoga. What else? We mentioned the airport, and honestly, there's a lot of differences.
Okay.
Well, for one, I guess we have very clean aquifer water, and I would support that. I love that. Having gone up to Saratoga with the surface water and the chlorinated taste, it was like drinking out of a swimming pool. So I like the sole source aquifer that we have, and I hope the Navy Yard gets around to stopping the PCEs from floating into it, which they've been thinking about for 40 years.
Thank you.
I think it really comes down to the services do vary from county to county. They vary from Rotterdam to Niskayuna and all over. I really think it's about bringing that government down to the people that are impacted by it the most. And if you look at our municipalities, and if you look at what we have to do in the village, and what the towns have to do, and what they have to work with, they cannot provide a level of service that the county actually puts on them, because they pass the burden down to the municipalities in the way of not only the money that was mentioned earlier that we're missing out when it comes to the revenue stream that it's being hoarded by the county, but services that get put down to other levels. And as you look at the county as they bring things together, there is a lot of services like UCC that the cost of that is going up, and it's not coming across like it originally was intended to be. So yeah, do they offer different services? But it's the cost of those services too. And if you look at Saratoga County, it does appear that they have a better way of doing it in the way of, for what it comes down to the taxpayer.
Thank you.
Counties and towns are required to provide an X amount of services regardless of the county. It's how they deliver them. In Saratoga County, it's a bottom-up, decentralized. The towns are vibrant. They provide much of these services. Yes, including libraries. Ours is centralized. The only thing I can say that's really different in our towns is that we provide our own law enforcement. And our law enforcement in our towns is roughly $3 to $4 million. Where in Saratoga County, they pick up that tab. Although now today we see that Schenectady County wants to do a little more top-down there and have the Sheriff's Department grow outside its constitutional duties and absorb some of our police officers and bring them elsewhere out of our towns. Now, as a legislator, that's something I could not support. Our police belong in our towns.
Thank you.
I don't know if the person that asked this question, they still got the answer. It sounds though they wanted a whole list of services that both Schenectady County provides and Saratoga provides, and I know for sure that none of us probably know everything that a neighboring county provides. I mean, obviously, we talked about the library. We talked about, localized police forces versus using state police. Both of us have beautiful parks. Both of us have, vibrant tourism. But the bottom line is their towns, like Kurt said, it's kind of a bottom-up approach that they're doing versus us having a much larger county government system. Yes, you may be able to provide some more services, but at what cost to the residents?
Thank you very much. Well, this is the end of the questions for our county representatives. We thank them for coming. And we're going to take a slight break for our supervisor candidates to come up. And I'm going to make one request. The questions that you hand in, just make them out for the supervisory candidates, not the town candidates, because we'll do that next. So we only want questions for our supervisory candidates.
Don't we have
Thank you.
closing?
Oh, that's right. I am wrong. The closing statements. Rory, go ahead. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, she's trying to get the ball rolling.
1 minute.
What? Oh, it just got down from 2 minutes to 1 minute.
Running of time.
I'm surprised. We were all waiting for the sales tax question. It didn't come. So, certainly folks took their time to try and take shots at it. In 2 minutes, 1 minute, however long I have, isn't going to do it justice. But our fair share of sales tax, look at the state. There are 62 counties, 57 counties outside of New York State. 31 counties receive less of a share than Schenectady County passes on to its towns. 11 counties receive nothing. It's because of that sales tax agreement that we have with the city that safeguards that $2.7 million that goes to the towns every year. There could be a doomsday scenario. Towns could get less. I would be devastated if that ever happened. That is not what I would ever want. But how this is going about is wrong. It's becoming a political issue in a campaign year. This was done 20 years ago by Susan Savage, and Jim knows this. It's based on politics, and it means nothing. It disregards the good work that's done by the county legislature, our savings that we try and pass on to folks. Some of the accounting errors over there that were mentioned by Mr. Simone about our budget being up 40% in the past 10 years is completely wrong. In 2007, there was a budgetary change in how they were regarding sales tax, not as an expense, but as an expense against revenue. That changed, so on appearance, it looks like we spend more money. And the UCC saves aggregately over $1.5 million a year for the county. Glenville alone, $150,000. Niskayuna alone, $150,000. These are direct savings to the towns. This is the work, the hard work, 10 years of work that the county has done to integrate with the towns and to lessen that burden of service that they have to give to their residents. This has all been very well and good. The issue of the sales tax deserves more time than 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the AAUW and the League of Women Voters for having this forum tonight. The only thing in light of what Rory is bringing up that has been bothering me that keeps being said is the word hoarding. And I'm not sure how it can be considered hoarding when it's something that we are sharing with the entire county. We're not sitting on any money. We had other money coming in, so what did we do? We used it to pay off debt. It's the same thing I would do in my home. I would assume it's the same thing anybody would do. You get more money, you pay off your debt. And in turn, you're able to cut taxes and save everybody. We have one of the highest Moody ratings that you can get. We're one of the few counties in New York that can say that, which means that we have excellent fiscal responsibility. You don't get that unless you are fiscally responsible. Our county manager does a phenomenal job. She's already started working on next year's budget. It takes a lot of work to put a budget together, and I'm proud of the work that we've done in the county. I know that we can continue to do better and do a great job for everybody in the county.
Thank you.
I would just like to, rather than my own, I'd wrap up on the 4 green principles. First one, nonviolence. And I would like to thank the YWCA and encourage people to go beyond just a Take Back the Night rally, but try and cut back on the violence that we experience every day in this county and in this country. Grassroots democracy. Again, I'd like to thank for the AAU and the League of Women Voters for supporting this. This is kind of democracy. Social and economic justice. One example, again, we would save millions and millions and millions at each municipal level if we went to single payer, and I encourage people to call their senator because we're one vote away from having that. And everybody would get the same plan, so you wouldn't have to be scraping together to get that $25 copay. And ecological wisdom, we need to stop making a mess. We need to start cleaning up. The idea of endless growth on a finite planet doesn't make sense to me. We need to live within our means. The solar panels are obviously one way, but there's a lot of other things that we can do to relocalize the economy. Local food, local farmers market, local products like the Tough Traveler Pack. And that's it. Thank you.
You know, you talk about political poise. It must be just a coincidence that there's a 1% tax cut, and thank you for the 20-something dollars that I'm going to get back in my taxes per year. But you talk about the county working hard. they probably do work very hard, because if you take a look at the average median wage of a county employee versus the average median wage of a resident, it's much higher. So I bet they're working very hard for their money too as well. I think that there is a lot of money that the county is sitting on. There is this great, nice, big casino that I see, and I love the progress I see with that. I think it's great for the business development in this area, and I think there is a lot of money that's being sat on out there at the county level. I think there's a lot of excess spending, and I am a big believer in limited government, and I feel that the county could do ways to decrease the costs that has risen year after year for the administration that is associated with it. So, yeah, I bet they are working hard, and they're paying themselves well for it too.
Thank you.
If this was a board of supervisors, county government, we wouldn't be having a sales tax debate, because the town supervisors would have their fingers on the pulse of this community, and they would make sure that the county that they're represented on would be cooperating with the town. They would get their fair share of sales tax. And that's a problem with the legislative system. You have to work harder to be there with your town. I will be your all-in representative, and I'll have only one boss, and it's you. I will regularly attend Niskayuna town board meetings and hold policy discussions in public. I will meet with, discuss solutions with, and cooperate positively with other District 3 legislators, regardless of party affiliation. We must fix the problems, and they are that the county is empire building, overspending. The incumbent legislators are not representing Niskayuna interests properly. They're not cooperating with town and village boards, or even to cooperate with other peers like Mr. Burmaster. And finally, the county has failed to share sales tax fairly with the towns, the village, and the city. I think it involves all of us. Yesterday, Glenville passed a resolution that put it at the forefront of this debate. It was a necessary step because our incumbent legislators refused to take up the cause, even though they represent us, to speak with the town, or even to speak with the town board, because they answer to someone else. Glenville is reaching out to our county towns, our villages, and the city, and already has the support of the New York State Association of Towns and our state representatives to fix the sales tax problem.
Thank you.
I started this forum by saying that I'm a candidate you can feel good about voting for, and it's true because I'm loyal to you, the residents of Niskayuna, and also those in Scotia and Glenville. During this process, I've asked a lot of questions. Some of them include, isn't that a conflict of interest? And how did it get this bad? And why aren't we working together on this? I think Rory's right when he says that sales tax has become a campaign issue, because one of the reasons is it hasn't been looked at in the past 4 years. So therefore, we had to bring it up. But it doesn't have to be this difficult. It's just a matter of opening up the renegotiations and having a conversation about this so we can come to an agreement and all get our fair share. It's time that somebody stepped out and started building relationships and not barriers between us. It's time we started working together on things to accomplish things that's going to truly impact the daily lives of all of us. People sometimes say to me, well, everything you say sounds good, but can you actually do it? I don't think you can. And I'm saying we can do it, but the only way is if we work together, no matter what party we campaign with. Once we're elected, we represent all of you. So then it's a matter of just working together to get our fair share of sales tax, cut county spending, and to work closely with local municipalities to tackle the challenges that you face every day. I want to thank you all for coming, and that you've chosen to make a positive impact in your community by learning, getting to know us, learning about the issues, and casting votes that you can feel good about, and that matters, and that's votes on row B.
All right. Thank you. Again, thank you. We will take a slight break for our supervisor candidates, and the questions, please, just for those candidates. Thank you. May I please have the questions for the supervisory candidates? We're going to begin by having each of them give an opening statement.
All right. I thought, judging from what happened before, I assumed that what I have here is, I thought there'd be about 9 people here, so I made 9 copies of this, but there are more than 9 people here, so anyway. This is Who Am I? My wife, my Ukrainian-born wife, Olha, and I have 2 adult children, Yuri and Tatiana. We live in Niskayuna for over 20 years, Olga, is a retired teacher, taught foreign languages in Schenectady City Schools and Bethlehem Central School. For most of my working life, I've been in mental health service management and have worked at the National Institute of Mental Health in DC, SUNY Buffalo School of Medicine, Department of Psychiatry, and before retiring and moving to Niskayuna with the New York State Office of Mental Health as the Deputy Regional Director for Long Island. I have a BA and MA in Sociology, SUNY Buffalo, and an MSW in SUNY Albany. I've served on the board of directors of and past president of the public access TV station when that was around ASAC, and have hosted there a program called Green Talk, and Open Stage Media Productions. I've done that as well. I received the Schenectady County League of Women Voters Susan B. Anthony Award for services back in 1985. So that's some background on me.
Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank the League and the UAW for hosting this tonight. My name is Joe Landry, and I've been the town supervisor for the past 10 years. During that time, I've had the pleasure of serving with very capable town board members and a host of well-qualified and dedicated town employees. And because of these partnerships, we are fortunate to have had many accomplishments, and the recently released 2018 budget is just one example. Our goal in that budget is to be fiscally responsible while maintaining the services critical to protecting and improving the quality of life for our residents. Since its implementation, this town has stayed within the tax cap every year, including this year by seeking new ways to provide needed services through innovation and cooperation. In fact, the proposed 2018 budget includes a 2% tax cut for our residents. This cut is made possible through the implementation of many fiscally prudent measures, including refinancing, saving over $230,000 of the remainder of the bonds. Our bond rating is the 5th best in the entire state, best upstate, the other 4 are from down Long Island. Our partnership with other communities in the county through the UCC has improved public safety while saving us approximately $150 every year. Additionally, change to our health care and insurance plan should save the town over $135,000 in 2018. Just some highlights of the recent accomplishments by our town include designation as one of the first clean energy communities in New York State through the implementation of sustainable and energy-friendly policies. This designation was accompanied by a $100,000 grant to the town, which we hope to use for boiler and lighting upgrades. We pave about 5 miles every year. We're going to do that next year. We've installed new playground equipment this year in Blatnick Park, where improvements to our wastewater treatment plant are going to be completed in 2018. These improvements are going to result in savings to the taxpayers of $3.3 million over the next 15 years through contractually guaranteed electricity and gas savings, along with on-site electricity production, ultimately creating a net zero facility. And I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I look forward to this debate. Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you all for coming. It's so nice to see such a full room. I'm Yasmin Syed. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the American Association of University Women for hosting this event tonight. I know it's a lot of hard work getting this event organized, and I appreciate the time that you dedicated to put this all together so that I could participate. I love Niskayuna. I was born and raised here. After going to college at Boston University and grad school at NYU, I decided to move back because it's such a wonderful community to live in. My professional background is in corporate finance and healthcare management, and currently I'm a senior budget analyst at Albany Medical Center. I help put together a budget that is in excess of $1.3 billion annually. I help to formulate a budget that provides for 13,000 employees and over 450 physicians. That also includes collaborating on capital plans that led to the openings of several healthcare facilities in the capital region, including the Upper Union Street Ambulatory Surgery Center that now serves the healthcare needs of many of our Niskayuna residents. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. You're the reason why I'm running. I want Town Hall to work for all of you. I want to lower your property taxes without cutting your services by fighting for our fair share of the sales tax dollars from the county. I want to hear your concerns about development in our town so that we can truly execute smart growth plans. I want to ensure that our police department has the funding and resources it needs to protect you and your families. I will renew and repair our aging wastewater treatment plant so that your tax dollars will no longer be allocated to DEC fines. But most importantly, I want to foster an environment of professionalism and respect in Town Hall. Our town can't work for you if our employees feel scared, intimidated, or threatened. We don't need investigations at Town Hall. We need investments in our future. A town supervisor is essentially the CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation owned by you, the residents. I'm the only candidate at this forum with the right professional background and the right temperament for this job. And I look forward to talking about the issues tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We are waiting for the questions, please, for our supervisor candidates. The first question for our candidates, and we'll begin with you, Elmer. The police and firefighters are pillars of our community. How would you ensure that they are treated as they deserve, both in their jobs as well as taken care of in their futures?
I assume that as employees, they are in a retirement system, have health benefits and the other things. So I don't know if there's anything that's unique about the firefighters or the police in terms of benefits or needs or anything of that sort. I do think that as overall, what we do need throughout this area is a consolidation of governments, that government is the growth industry, so that when we moved here, there was a town hall that was a little building over on across from the CVS, and the position of supervisor was part-time. That is now, we have this building, and we have a full-time supervisor and assistants, so that it keeps it growing. The consolidation of towns, fire districts, police departments, all these things is absolutely essential if we're going to continue on in an effective fashion.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll speak more to the police officers. Our fire departments are separate taxing entities. They don't work for the town. So our police department is, all of them are part of a union. We have about 28 police officers. They do have all the retirement, the health benefits, everything. And what we do with the police department, though, is we have expanded a lot of services throughout the years. And we provide the latest and greatest upgrades and updates for equipment. Every year we buy about 2 new vehicles for the police department. We have new license plate readers. We have cameras in each vehicle to monitor the activities out there. So we are bonding and providing services and making sure that our police officers are equipped to be able to provide the safety for our residents. Also, we continue to provide all the, if you want to say, the best benefits. We just renovated our health benefits over the past year, and the police department and the PBA were part of that. So we try to encourage them to stay with us. They usually stay their full career. We haven't had anybody leave less than 20 years. They always stay more than 20 years. So it's a career for a person to become a police officer. And we're glad that, in fact, we're probably going to hire one in January. So.
Well, I will honor all of our collective bargaining agreements that have been reached with the PBA. I'm committed to working with Police Chief Daniel McManus if I'm elected as supervisor, trusting that he knows best how to keep our community safe. What's important is ensuring that he can do his job properly and making sure that he has the proper funding and resources that he needs. Continued increased safety can be had in many ways, from adding new technology to increasing the number of officers that we have. But again, I would trust that he would be able to make the necessary suggestions and that I would be able to, hear what he has to say and then make some decisions thereafter.
Thank you. All right, the next question is for Mr. Landry. Would you support ethic reform in Niskayuna? And would that include anti-nepotism provisions so that town board members and their families could not serve on various committees?
Ethic reform, we have an ethics law that we passed a couple years ago. We are in compliance with all the state requirements on that. As far as family board members being on committees, there's a lot of committees around town hall. A lot of them are volunteer committees, and I'm not sure what people are asking with this question, but we sometimes struggle to get people on committees. In fact, we're having a couple appointments coming up, and we will be appointing people to that. We have a ethics board that, we are working on, there's no requirement as far as forms being filed, ethics forms, that's something on a county level. So as far as all the state requirements, we are in compliance with that from an ethics perspective.
Thank you.
I definitely don't think that we should have family members being employed by the town. We don't become elected so that we can do favors for our family. That's not the point. I don't think that serves our residents well. Yeah, that's where I stand on that.
Okay.
I don't understand there to be an issue here at all. I'd agree with what was just said by Mr. Landry in terms of, if you can get people to serve, have them serve. Most of the positions don't end up having any money with them. They take a lot of time and effort, and that's about it. But I don't think anybody's family members are on boards, but I may be in the dark about that. What I do think is important, though, is that there be as much information given about what's going on to us, to ordinary people, of what's going on in the county and what's going on in the town and what the impact of those things are. And I don't think that's happening now. I also, again, would suggest it's important that things come at a higher level. For example, the being done to clean up the Mohawk River by having sewage very well treated in Niskayuna becomes irrelevant if the sewage is being dumped in Amsterdam. So that you need a larger unit to be able to address a lot of these problems, and it may be that we're beyond where we need villages, towns, and that level of government.
Thank you. All right, our next question is this. Recently, a project at Balltown Road in Van Antwerp gained a lot of attention because of so much community involvement opposition. It caused the owner/developer of the property to temporarily withdraw plans. What are your feelings on rezoning properties in Niskayuna?
Where are you starting?
Right there is your turn.
Oh, with me?
Yes.
I'm actually happy with how this turned out, that the proposition for the new development was tabled at this point. I actually grew up in that little yellow house behind CVS, so for me, it's not just an innocuous block. I had ties to that home. I think it would make sense if we didn't have so many vacant commercial properties that were available. It also wouldn't make sense to put that kind of structure in where there's an overly backlogged road. So that's the whole point of smart growth, right? We don't build when we can't hook up more properties to our sewer system because it's already taxed. We don't build when we already can't handle the traffic levels. And we really have to smartly consider what new projects we're going to take on. It's always good to have commercial development because it's going to increase the tax base, but we have to do it in a smart way. And I'm glad that the residents came out and said what they had to say, because that's really what it's all about. If the residents don't want something coming in their neighborhoods, then it doesn't matter what we think, it matters what they think.
Thank you. All right, our next question will begin with you, Elmer. What are your priorities for the town?
Everybody didn't answer. You didn't have Joe answer.
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry.
No, you didn't answer, did you?
I'm sorry.
You
You noticed, you
Go
noticed.
ahead.
You're up.
Oh, I thought you were gonna
No, it
go.
goes this way.
It goes
You're up.
this way. You're confusing. It's this way. You start and then it's him.
No, it was, you started at the other end.
Oh,
I am confused. I
Yes.
thought you were going down the line.
no, it's,
Okay.
you do it, Elmer, and then Joe.
The question again.
What are your
The residents.
priorities for the town
No,
in the
the other-
next?
No, 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 no.
No, the last, the development.
The residents, the development
I'm sorry.
around CVS.
I'm sorry. That was the one I went to. The rezoning. What's your
Right.
issue on rezoning?
Certainly, I think you want to have as much input as you can from individuals. I do think what ends up happening is that too often things are presented as being, this is in the good interest of economic development, without anything going beyond that. What does that mean? So that I would be particularly sensitive to things like the various entities that end up doing things. Metroplex Development Authority, when they say, we're creating X number of jobs, how is that verified? More importantly, how are people selected for getting these monies? There are people that are getting millions of dollars in tax breaks. How does that come about? Here, these are all sorts of things, campaign slogans and things. Who's paying for this, you know? Part of it certainly is being paid by LLCs, limited liability companies, corporations, companies. And what are they? They're paying, why? Because they like this government. Well, there are some other benefits too. So I think that becomes part of zoning and all those sorts of issues as well.
Yes, the developer was coming in asking to change the zoning from R2 to R3, and it was still in the planning board stage, and there were quite a few residents that came out and spoke at the public hearings. I want to applaud the residents. And also, the town board conducted a public hearing on that development, and I want to thank everybody for coming to that public hearing. We, as town board members, were very cognizant of what was going on and what the residents were saying. And I also was walking around, going a lot of door to door in those neighborhoods, talking to people, and I want to thank everybody for what they said. We haven't had any zoning changes in since I've been here, I can't remember any. So we have a comprehensive plan. In the comprehensive plan, it sort of lays out what is happening in the town, and we try to stay within that comprehensive plan. And this proposed zoning that was recently proposed to the town through the developer is something that I had taken a stand on. I was not going to support it. I was not for that development, and I'm very, very happy that the developers pulled it off the table and is going to sit back and go out and meet with our residents and decide with the residents, with the input from all the residents, what will work in that area. So I want to thank all the residents and thank the developer, and hopefully they can work through this and come up with something that everybody can live with.
The next question is, what are your priorities for our town in the next few years, if elected to be supervisor? Elmer, go ahead.
As I mentioned before, I think that consolidation of services wherever possible to see whether or not, I'm very much opposed to saying the village should get its fair share of this, or the town should get the fair share of that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. As I said, the one example is with the sewage treatment. If Niskayuna spends millions of dollars to improve how sewage is being treated, but the other communities haven't the money to do that, it defeats what you're trying to do. So I think that what has to be done in an intelligent fashion is to search out various means of bringing things to a larger scale. Can we bring villages together? Niskayuna is served by 3 different fire companies. You know, is that really the most efficient way of providing fire protection for residents? Most efficient both in fire protection and in costs. You know, and I find it difficult to believe that it would be. Thank you.
There's very few priorities. I try to summarize them. One is our residents are very clear that they want to continue to receive all the programs and services they've been receiving over the past. That's a priority, is keep providing the same and more services. Our infrastructure, we always have to update it and improvement. We're making major improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. We have an engineering firm on board that's looking at our water plant, so we'll probably have major improvements to that over the next few years. Maintaining our parks and improving our parks. We just had a new playground opening over at Blatnick Park. We'll continue to look at all our parks. We hired an engineering firm to come up with a master plan, and every year we hope to chip away at that and provide more improvements. Environmental programs continue to be a priority. You see the solar panels in the back out there. We were the first municipality in Schenectady County to put up solar panels. We will continue to make environmental programs a priority. Police Department, making sure they have enough resources and equipment to serve our community, and also maintaining our excellent bond rating. As I said, we're the 5th best in the state. We're the best upstate, and I want to continue to maintain that bond rating. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have 4 major objectives if I'm elected as supervisor. My first objective is to get a larger share of the sales tax distribution from the county. So yes, Rory, that means vote row B. Number 2, I want to renew and rebuild our infrastructure. We already have an overtaxed sewer system. Our water treatment plant is over capacity, and that should be a main priority. We can not keep dumping partially treated sewage into the Mohawk River. 3, the safety of our residents is of the utmost importance. So we have to protect against encroaching crime from Schenectady, which has the highest crime rate per capita in the state. 4, I want to change the work environment here at Town Hall, because unless we have a happy work environment here, we really can't serve the people to the best of our abilities.
Thank you. All right, that's it for the questions for our town supervisor, and we're now going to have the closing statement,
Starting where?
starting with you.
With me.
Yes, with you, Elmer.
Again, I would stress that we are told what is important. If you're judging something, what is important for you to know? We're told by all the advertisements, did the taxes go up or go down? And that's not a very good indication one way or another. You know, what did the taxes go for? How are monies being used? Does it make sense to have all these small units of government, towns and villages and boards and fire districts, et cetera? And can that be sustained? At the same time, the involvement of the public in government and the issues and understanding the issues is decreasing. And as the news, what is being said now is newspapers are a thing of the past, and that we're not going to have any source of information. And we simply don't have, we need information about what's going on, and it has to be very detailed, boring as it is. We have to create our own mechanism for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just would like to thank Niskayuna voters for giving me the opportunity to be Niskayuna Town Supervisor for the past 10 years. During my tenure, I come to work each day with high expectations, ensuring that Niskayuna continues to be a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I have put forth my best efforts to meet those expectations by ensuring that our residents receive the programs and services they expect. That's very important to me. Every day, people come in my office. I deal with people walking in, talking to me about services, neighborhoods, issues, and I try to work with them. The town's infrastructure, improving it and updating it, whether it's paving, whether it's wastewater treatment plant, water plant. Our water plant is, we produce about 60% of the water that's used in the town, 40% comes from the city. Improving that, making sure it's good potable water, whether it's putting new filters in this year or improving the wells, actually redoing the wells this year and, making sure that they're producing at the fullest capacity. Those are important things to me. Smart growth is achieved and our neighborhoods are preserved. That's something that's smart, whether it's over at the Niskayuna Tech Park, over at the ShopRite Plaza, Mansion Square, Mohawk Commons, trying to ensure that development occurs along those corridors. Environmental programs, we're a climate smart community. We're receiving a lot of grants. We're trying to put in electric charging stations, get electric vehicles. We're trying to replace our boilers with grants we're receiving. We're doing a lot in the environmental arena, and we'll keep doing that. Our police department, like I said before, we have Each vehicle has cameras. We have license plate readers. We have fingerprint machines that scan fingers, for the fingerprints. We have the latest technology. We'll keep doing that, and we'll keep training our officers. We're part of the Zone 5 Academy down in downtown Schenectady, and we participate in that heavily, whether it's sending our officers for training down there or actually sending officers down to be instructors. We'll continue to do that. And our bond rating, that is very important. Maintaining our finances, and which is, our bond rating is done by independent auditors. They've actually said that we have one of the best bond ratings upstate, and that's not just me speaking. That's coming from the bond rating companies. Thank you.
So tonight you've heard a few different visions for our town, and I'm glad that we could discuss the issues. Local elections are about local issues, like controlling taxes, managing infrastructure projects in a timely way, and improving the environment instead of polluting it. I hope that we all continue to run our campaigns on the issues from now on. A town this great deserves nothing but the best, and at the very least, that includes a greater share of the county sales tax revenue, pipes and sewers that keep our environment clean, neighborhoods that are safe, and most importantly, a leader who serves you, the good people of Niskayuna. So I humbly ask for your support on Election Day, and thank you so very much.
Thank you. Our next candidates will be the town board candidates. We're going to take a minute and get organized for them. Bobby. May I have your attention, please? We're going to begin with our town candidates. So if everyone could take a seat. We need to give them a chance.
They don't even care about it.
Thank you. We're going to begin now with an opening statement from each of our town candidates. We're going to begin with you, Mr. Delarada.
Thank you. Thank you and good evening. I'd like to, of course, thank the AAU and also the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight. It is very important. It gives candidates a direct line to the people that they represent, the fine residents of Niskayuna, and also our surrounding towns and counties. My name is John Delarada. I was born in the city of Schenectady, and my parents still reside in the city of Schenectady, where we grew up on the corner of Wendell and Knott Street. I married my wife, Michelle Daly, about 20 years ago, and have two children, 15 years and 18 years. One is currently in Niskayuna High School, one graduated and is now in SUNY Geneseo. I have had the pleasure of serving the residents of Niskayuna for the past 4 years on the town board. I am very proud to do so, and our goal as a town has always been to be fiscally responsible, and of course, to maintain the services that our residents are accustomed to. We have been able to do this the 4 years that I've been on the board. We have always been within the tax cap, which is, I believe, under 2%. We have had the best bond rating this year, as our supervisor noted. That's very important to us because the bond rating is done by people that are outside of the town, outside of politics. They are independent auditors, and you can't have one of the best bond ratings out of thousands of municipalities unless you are fiscally responsible. So that is something that our town has been very proud of, and we hope to continue to do so. One of the reasons why we have that good bond rating is because we have been we've been very big in intergovernmental cooperation, and our county legislature, Roy Fluman noted that. And he does come to town board meetings, and Niskayuna town board members go to county meetings because we know how important it is to cooperate with one another. Shared services has been very important. So with those things, I see that my time is expiring. I just want to say that I am very grateful for serving you, and I hope to continue a very smart and sustainable growth here in the town of Niskayuna.
Thank you. Mr. McGarry?
Yes, hello. Yeah, my name is Tom McGarry. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the American Association of University Women. I'm a lifelong resident of Niskayuna, having been born here 63 years ago when both my parents moved here after medical school to set up their medical practices. My mother actually was one of the first woman doctors in the city of Schenectady. At that time. So myself, I'm a graduate of SUNY Brockport with a Bachelor of Science degree. I served 36 years in the U.S. Army. That's the U.S. Army active duty. I was in the National Guard and Army Reserves. Retired several years ago as a command sergeant major in the Army Reserves. I served started as an infantryman and then got trained as a combat medic and as a nurse. And as a nurse, I was deployed twice during my time in the reserves, actually. I also retired from New York State government. I worked for the New York State Office for Technology as a contract manager. Pretty much I was responsible for IT negotiating, IT contracts and administering them. And I know state employees sometimes have a bad name, but I will tell you, one of the things that was always, in my mind whenever, you're spending this money, this is public money you're spending, tax money that people, hard-earned money that people have earned, so, I was always very cognizant of that, and you always, you try to get the best buy on everything, so. Currently, I serve on the board of directors of Consumer Directed Choices, which is a Medicaid-funded human services agency. Also, I've been a strong supporter of Plan International for many, many years. Also serve on the Schenectady County Medical Reserve Corps, which is an emergency reserve corps. And I see my time is up, so.
Wow.
I'm Denise Murphy McGraw. I have the great honor and privilege of serving on this town board for the past 8 years. I have, during that entire time, I have chaired both the Highways and Public Facilities Committee and the Public Works Committee. My husband and I have lived here for about 20 years now. We have a daughter, Caroline. She's 16 years old. She's a senior at Niskayuna High School. She just committed this week to swim for Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and we could not be more proud of that. There are some people in this room that helped make that happen and get her there, and I will forever be there. Very grateful to all of them. I'm running again this time for the same reason I ran 8 years ago. I want to make this town the best community that it can be. I want to continue to be able to do that. I came to this job 8 years ago as a very active community volunteer. I've been the president of the Junior League. I've been on the aforementioned library board. I think many of you either knew or you read this week that I was the chairwoman of Schenectady County Community College for 5 years under a period of time and growth for that community college that I think was unprecedented. I have been able to do all of those things and still be able to find time to help teach religion and help with the Girl Scout troop and do all of those things, but run a business that's a small business and it's a very successful business. And I've also been able to do something that I'm very, very proud of, which is be able to take two committees that are enormously important in this town, have them work together, have them work more cooperatively, be able to figure out just within what we're doing in our town to have Public Works and Highways support each other. It's led to great savings. It's led to greater cooperation and some really groundbreaking things within this community, and I'm very proud of that. Thank you all for having me here tonight.
Your turn.
First of all, I'd like to thank Tom for his service with the military. I don't think I've ever thanked you yet. Thank you for that. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, AAU, and all the residents that showed up tonight. It looks like a great crowd here tonight. They said that last year, I think, or the year before, they only had 60 people show up. Tonight looks like more than a couple hundred. My name is Anthony Simone, and I'm running for a Niskayuna Town Board seat. I'm a Niskayuna resident for 24 years, and I've lived in the county for over 60. Now you know my age. My wife and I have been married for 38 years, and we have 3 sons. I'm a proud father of Anthony, Matthew, and Aaron, and 1 grandson, Lorenzo. That sounds like Italian, it is. My wife is a graduate from St. Rose as a school teacher. My son is a graduate from St. Rose, and he's works for a company called Craftco, which covers 3 states. My son Matthew graduated from Binghamton, and he's also a graduate from Albany Law. He works for a Gerstenstein law firm, local. My son Aaron graduated from Rider University in New Jersey, and he's presently trying to go pro, which would be tomorrow. They're going to Las Vegas, and he's meeting with one of the top pros in the country. Yes, I managed sport teams, Little League teams, volunteered many times on the board of directors for Little Leagues in the Schenectady County. I'm a retired from Price Chopper, 42 years in management. Yes, we were responsible for all aspects, associates, sanitation, budgeting. I've managed over $50 million a year in sales. And at that time, we were not allowed to miss our budgets, if you know what I mean. We weren't allowed to increase taxes to hit our budget. We had to increase sales. And we had to work very hard to make that happen. Presently, I'm working with my brother with a startup company locally, Schenectady County. It's called Santa Vita Healthy Life in Latin, and I'm trying to move quickly here. Time's up. Sorry.
Thank you. First question, and we'll start with Mr. Delarada. Do you feel it is a conflict of interest for town elected officials to also be on the county payroll? And do you think it compromises their ability to negotiate with the county government?
I guess there could be a conflict of interest if a town person is also on a county payroll, but it would depend what the job is. It would depend if or not there were contracts that were being entered into by both parties, and the person on the town was also on the county, and they were working to enter those contracts, but I don't see any of those conflicts present here in the town of Niskayuna. This town is run very efficiently and very effectively. Our town supervisor does a very good job of making sure that people are present in their jobs and that they're performing in the manner that they're supposed to be. We all try to be very responsive to the people that we represent. And that's why you will see us out walking about in the communities and knocking on their doors and going to various functions, because we know we have to communicate with our residents to understand what they want from us. But as far as any conflicts, I don't see any conflicts here in the town of Niskayuna. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm going to answer this question by just telling you a really quick story. One of my jobs in the state, my supervisor retired. The job was a political appointed job. The gentleman who was put in that job, very nice guy. Basically, I spent the next probably year and a half training him in the job, even though he was getting the paycheck and I was getting a lower paycheck. I guess the short answer, I really have no problem with that as long as, you know, things are done equitably. If somebody's family, person who's, in their family is qualified and they go for the, through the proper steps to be hired in those positions, I see no problem. But, real nepotism is not just a problem on the local level. I've seen it on the state level also, so it can be a huge problem.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question? 'Cause
Yes. Do you feel it is a conflict of interest for town elected officials to also be on the county payroll? And do you think it compromises their ability to negotiate with county government if they're getting paid by the county also?
I have not seen that in my experience here at Town Hall. I have not seen it at any level, really, and I don't think so. No, I don't.
Yes, I do feel it's a conflict. If somebody's receiving a paycheck from the town of Niskayuna and somebody's receiving a paycheck from the county, and are they really performing that job at 100%? And also, is it a conflict? I really feel it is a conflict, and I also feel that if there's decisions that need to be made for Niskayuna and it favors the county, then are you really working for Niskayuna? So I would, if I was on the town board, I would try to pass some type of legislation to put some type of code of ethics so they wouldn't be allowed to work in two positions in the county. One position is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question, and we're going to begin with Mr. McGarry. As candidates for elected office, are you involved in approving content of the election materials that are mailed and distributed to residents? Also, do you know if the materials are fact-checked? And do you also approve of the last brochure that went out that had a negative slant on the candidates?
First of all, I'll answer the first part of the question. Yeah, we're very actively involved in approving anything that goes out. And I think what that person's talking about is this particular brochure that went out. And I will tell you, if our local Republican Party asked me to sign off on this kind of material, I would tell my party, take my name out of contention, because this is not the way I operate. I don't care which way, government works. I mean, I know politics can be dirty and slimy and all of that, but this is not the way I would operate. So no, I would not run for office if they asked me to sign off on this kind of crap.
Okay, thank you.
But would you run for office? But would you run for office knowing that all those things were out there? I mean, I think that's what the question is.
Can I answer her directly?
Denise, you're to answer that question
So-
as a candidate, not go at his answer.
I think folks have seen my campaign piece that went out very recently. Somebody called it lovely at town board the other day. It talks about all my accomplishments. It talks about everything that I have done at the town level. The town committees put out pieces. I have to say, I am concerned about the piece. I'm very concerned about it because I think it talks about something that's very important. What's out there in social media about the candidates and about the parties? It raises something we should all be thinking about. What kind of hate speech is out there? What kind of materials are out there? And that's how I see the piece.
Can you repeat the question, because I want the audience to hear it one more time?
Yes. As candidates for elected office, are you involved in approving the content of election material mailed and distributed to residents? Also, do you know if material has been fact-checked? And also, do you approve of the negative brochure that went out against some of the candidates?
The negative brochure is totally unacceptable. It's just totally unacceptable. It should never have been sent out. It's not me. I just started a Facebook page about 2 months ago. I was never on Facebook. Social media is not my thing. I'm on LinkedIn with 1,200 CEOs and presidents across the country that deals with the environment of organics and natural water. That's what I do on the side. As far as that brochure, it hurt. It hurt me personally, and I showed a lot of my friends and a lot of my family members. I think it was uncalled for. It's not needed. Niskayuna is great. That's not Niskayuna. And what I would say is that run on your record. Talk about your results. Let the people vote on that. Don't send that kind of stuff out. That's not Niskayuna. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm aware of the pieces that I send out. I became aware of this particular piece after it was sent out. Was that piece fact-checked? Yes, it was. Is that piece factually correct? Do you mind if I see it?
Absolutely.
Is this piece factually correct? It is, and I think the facts on this piece are very disturbing. This piece does not call any of these people racist. This piece does not call any of these people anti-Semitic. What this piece does is it says that these Republican representatives are giving credibility to these right-wing, alt-right websites by Alex Jones, by Breitbart, by Rush Limbaugh. Okay, now, these folks got endorsed by the Republican Party. They didn't get endorsed by Price Chopper. They didn't get endorsed by the state of New York. They got endorsed by the Republican Party. They ought to be aware what their Republican Party beliefs are. Before they become the designating candidate and they go out with petitions and say, Mr. Republican, will you sign my petition so I can run on your Republican Party? Well, they ought to know what the Niskayuna Republicans are putting on their website, because this is offensive material, and I am totally against it. Thank you.
I will offer, I have an open Facebook page. Anybody is welcome to look at my Facebook page at any time.
Thank you. All right, the next question. Do you believe, and we're going to start with you, Denise, do you believe that services such as yard trash, et cetera, should be paid by fees or taxes?
So in our town, we provide a number of services. Joe mentioned a lot of them. He rattled them all off. We provide all kinds of programming. We provide snow removal and police force and all of those kinds of things. There are some things that simply would either have to no longer be offered by the town or have some sort of fee placed on it. Our lawn debris is one of those issues. We charge $40 per homeowner for a lawn debris fee. In some towns, they don't offer lawn debris at all, and private haulers haul it away for $40 a shot. I have been able to, over time, try to keep it as low as it possibly can be. And we have tried to work within our budget, but it still doesn't cover the entire cost of it.
Thank you.
Could read the question again, because I did.
Yes, do you believe services such as yard trash, et cetera, should be paid by fees or be part of your taxes?
To make it simple, I think yard trash like leaves and trees should be paid with the taxes. Your normal recyclables and garbage should be paid by the resident, which is probably happening right now. That's the way I feel about that.
Thank you.
I think it should all be included in one bill. That's probably the most sensible way to do it. However, sometimes you can't always do what's most sensible. In the situation with lawn debris, the value that we give our residents for $40 to pick up their lawn debris all year long is really pretty good. I hire somebody to pick up my lawn debris one time, it costs $70. If I do it myself, just to pay for the leaf bags to bag up all the lawn debris, is probably going to be $30 to $40. So I do understand our residents' frustration because there does seem to be a separation between fees and taxes. But certainly, when it comes to that lawn debris, I certainly think that's a vital service, and our residents do appreciate it.
I misspoke. It's $45. I don't want people to keep repeating what I misspoke. I'm sorry, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, just something quick. Can you read the question one more time?
Sure, I will. Should services that many people use, such as trash removal, et cetera, meaning lawn debris, be paid by fees or taxes?
Yeah, I firmly believe it should be paid by fees, only because some people don't use it. I mean, I compost a lot of my stuff. I also own 2 houses in Niskayuna, and, you know, I feel like if I have enough stuff at one, I'll bring it to my other house and get rid of it that way. One other thing I don't like, though, is this year, I mean, the window of you to bow out on the fees, very short. I believe you get a little over a month, and I missed it by a day. So, you know, that's one thing I find is not good. They need to extend that out. Another thing I really have to thank the town for, and it's really, I think, gotten us Republicans votes, is the transfer station, the fact that you have to come up here to buy the permits. I have a house I'm remodeling, so I bring debris down there. Many people are upset because, you know, they have to take time off from work or send an envelope in. I guess you can get it sent out to you. But, you know, I've always been told government's here to serve us, not to, you know, okay, 9 to 5, okay, my time is up, you know. Thank you. That's about all I'm going to say about that. You get my gist.
Thank you. All righty. The next question. Traffic is a real issue on the main roads in Niskayuna. What would you do to try to alleviate this problem?
Is my turn? Oh. We're talking about the main highway? the
Like
state-
Balltown
state-
Road.
Balltown Road, that's a state road, right?
Yes.
If it's a huge problem and there's many residents that are complaining about that problem, I think that we would be able to do a couple different things. Possibly, if it's a state road, we would propose either a lower speed limit or a stop sign or another light or police surveillance with maybe radar traps to, you know, slow it down, or some type of police presence to show that the traffic would be slowed down by police presence, even if it's not someone in the car. So there's several different tactics you can use to lower the speed limit down.
Thank you.
I can tell you several of the things that the town is doing to address speed and traffic. Police presence certainly is a big one. We have been out, our supervisor, myself, and Ms. McGraw have been out in the neighborhoods these past months, and we go out several times over the course of the years, and we do hear from the residents, especially in Old Niskayuna, regarding speeding and people not stopping at a complete stop at stop sign. We have committees that we encourage the residents to come and address the Public Safety Committee at these. We did tell the folks at Dean Street that. They did come and speak at a Public Safety Committee, and I believe we are in the works of putting up an extra stop sign for a four-way stop, getting police monitoring there to see what times the speeds are, most of the speed is, so we can have police officers there. But one other important thing to do is to get cars off the road, and that is one thing that that we've been focusing on, and in my Economic Development Committee we focus on the multi-use paths. We are getting pedestrians directly from the neighborhoods to the parks, the recreational facilities, and our very expanded riverfront by multi-use paths. So they're able to get to these places on bikes and walking and not use their cars. So that's a big plus.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will say right now, I live on Balltown Road, not that far from the bridge there, and I have to give somebody, you know, some credit because it is really, that bridge and everything has really improved it down there. But one thing I also heard, I came to a public hearing and one of the big problems is people trying to bypass the busy areas by going through developments and all. And kind of it's already been said, but, you know, people do tend to speed in those areas. I think more, you know, law enforcement, you know, checking areas to see if there is a need for, you know, stop signs to make people stop, and you know, law enforcement, I think, really has a big hand in, you know, assisting in some of those areas, so.
Thank you.
That's about it.
Thank you. We've certainly heard a lot about traffic and speed and safety within Old Niskayuna. I live on a very busy street. I live on Rose Hill Boulevard in Niskayuna. It's another very busy street. We have worked quite hard with our police department and with others to talk to them and to work with them to take preventive measures to ensure that we have, I became very unpopular this summer when folks who were driving to the town pool swim team at 7:30 in the morning were driving down Dean Street, and there was some police presence there. It was there because residents asked for it. And those are the kinds of things that we try to do. Now, I will say, we have to work with the state on stop signs and stop sign placement. Stop signs aren't, we can't put them up for speed. We have to put them up for safety. We have to be able to prove that. And so that's why we've been trying to work with, the police chief in particular has been in communication with New York State Department of Transportation to ensure that how we're going to proceed in some of these neighborhoods are in the best interest of everyone.
Thank you. Now we're going to begin with the closing statements, and we'll begin with you, Mr. De La Rota.
Thank you. I would just like to say that it's been, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's very important that we have well-informed voters that take an interest in their community and that express their pleasures and displeasures with their legislators so they can address them as best that they can. I do feel that the town of Niskayuna does do that. We have a certain motto in the town of Niskayuna and also throughout the county of Schenectady, and that is that working together works. The town board of Niskayuna works together along with all of the town committees, along with the town supervisors, along with all of our wonderful employees in the highway department, all of our volunteers that we have, our wonderful police officers, the people that work in the senior centers and in every facility that we have in the town. There is a great attitude amongst our town workers. They enjoy coming to work. I speak with them not on a daily basis, but certainly on a weekly basis, and I can say that it truly is a wonderful place to work and live and raise a family. And I know that this town board wants to continue to do that. I know this town supervisor wants to continue to do that. And I know our county legislature wants to do that. And we have been able to work together within the county, and the towns have worked together. And all this stuff about fair share of taxes is really just a bunch of ballyhoo. It's just a political football. The taxes from the county of Schenectady to the towns have been agreed upon and followed on, and it's working very well. If you just say to the county, we want more taxes, oh great, the county's gonna give you more tax money, then their county taxes are gonna have to go up. And where does that gotten you? Except for something to put on a political piece. So if you take a step back and look at the issues and look at people that are working for you and see how they're doing that, I think you'll be very comfortable with the people that we have right now in the town of Niskayuna and our county legislatures, including Roy Fluman and Mrs. Kathy Gatta, that are working hard for the town of Niskayuna and their districts on the county legislature. Thank you very much.
Okay, as I said earlier, you know, I'm pretty much a lifelong resident of Niskayuna. Not only did I grow up here, I have 10 brothers and sisters. We all graduate from this. That's why you're probably going to shoot me to say this, but I always vote for the school budget because we've gotten more than our money's worth out of it. Plus, my son graduated from Niskayuna. Again, I wouldn't have stayed here if it wasn't a great place to live. You know, everybody else in my family has moved elsewhere, but you know, I really, you know, like Niskayuna. One thing that does really concern me is, and I did check this statistic out, but roughly around 2/3 of the people who live in Niskayuna are people who are on fixed income, you know, elderly. You know, you may say taxes are not a big concern, but they are to these people who are, you know, trying to stay in the house that they grew up in, that their kids grew up in, and, you know, they can no longer afford to keep, you know, and this is a real problem. Again, I know it's been harped on before, but I do think we need to revisit the whole sales tax thing to see what we can do as far as making sure localities here get, you know, I know people don't like to hear this, but, you know, I have to say, make sure we get our fair share of the sales tax revenue. Because we, you know, the town pays for a lot of the services and all that these businesses have, and what do we get out of it, really? That's about all I have to say, so thank you.
I want to thank the AAUW. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us here tonight, for giving us this opportunity. Yes, there are a lot more people here tonight than there were 4 years ago, and I think that's a true testament to having a robust election system for a robust election this year, and I am just so happy to have so many people here. We have accomplished a lot in the 4 years that John has been on the board, the 8 years that I have been on the board, the 10 years that Joe Landry has been town supervisor. Our top priority is to preserve your quality of life. There's nothing, and I say it all the time, I've said it to folks that are in this room, There's nothing that anyone in this room has that's more valuable besides their families, their home. We have done all we can to ensure that you maintain the value of your home, that Niskayuna becomes a place that attracts people from around the world who want to live here, and people who live here want to stay here. Whether it's making sure that we are upgrading our infrastructure and taking on things that, maintenance that may have been deferred for a few years before we came into office, making sure we're getting a new wastewater treatment plant, doing a lot of upgrades underneath the ground, doing a lot of upgrades on top of the ground, and you see it as you drive around town. Also ensuring that our parks are the best that they can possibly be, and we continue to try to make them better. Make sure that we have programs that, whether they're our seniors or our young kids, they have somewhere to go, where they feel part of community. I am very proud to be part of that by running the town pool swim team for almost 10 years now, but giving people opportunity to really enjoy their community, get to know their neighbors, and get to live in a place that's very, very special. I ask for your vote to allow me to continue to be able to do that. Thank you.
I got 2 minutes, correct? Well, I'm not going to use my closing statement that I wrote up, so I'm just going to talk from the heart here, and I just want to touch on a couple things. I did retire from Price Chopper for 42 years in management, and I've handled a lot of different conflicts, and I've been on a lot of different projects for Price Chopper, and I can't list them all here tonight. But one thing I'd like to mention, that when I did retire, I'm on the board of directors for the Residence Center for the YMCA in Schenectady. I've been on that board for 4 years now, and we are running our annual campaign, and we raise a lot of money to keep the kids off the street. That's some of the things that I'm donating my time to for a non-profit. The one thing I'd like to mention is that everybody's bringing up this fair share tax revenue that we're not getting in Niskayuna. So yes, there are people saying that we should get it. There are people saying that we should not get it. It's there, and we should get it, and it's over $3 million. And yes, it does represent a reduction in your property taxes. So if you want that to happen, then you need to change, you need to vote on Roll B. And I am really dedicated to working very hard. I've been knocking on doors, talking to residents, and I really feel that I've received 95% of those people that are voting for our party. And yes, we do need a change. And I'm not saying anybody here has done a bad job. They've all done a good job. But we need something better. We need to improve what we have. We need to improve the efficiencies. And there's a lot that we can do if we work together. Yes, I will use all the resources in my power to make things better. And I really want to be elected to the board. I think I can probably eliminate some of the other ones I'm on. So this is, something I really want to do. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I actually asked Mr. Landry a while back that I'd like to run for one of the board seats, but it was something that I was very interested in. So yes, we did win the primary for the conservative line, and time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank our town candidates tonight, and I also want to remind you to vote on November 7th. That's very, very important, and this will be played on Open Stage Media. You go to demand, and you will be able to get a replay of this. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
I shouldn't say that, right?
No, definitely should.